Hi guys, welcome back to BattaBox. So Aisha Yusufu and Keneth Okonkwo had this very interesting conversation, and I wanted to share that with you guys as well as give my reactions to it. I know that a lot of people have been saying that since Keneth Okonkwo left the Labour Party and pretty much left Peter Obi, that Keneth Okonkwo is kind of trying to be relevant and is trying to just shine, because when he was with Labour Party, he was under Peter Obi. But some of the things that this man is saying makes a lot of sense. And in this particular video, I want to show you, which again, credit goes to Aisha Yusufu. They talked about Tinubu's renewed hopelessness, or renewed hope agenda, as Tinubu will put it. Talking about the trillions of naira spent on the road constructions, which again, only one company was able to have access to that. The bid was not open. He talked about the 5 billion house they are building, government house, the legislative, INEC, as well as the security challenges of Nigeria. So, guys, without further ado, let me kind of let you guys watch this.
Well, first and foremost, I want to agree with you that no generation in Nigeria has ever seen it this bad. Because there is no time in Nigeria we have ever suffered unavailability and unaffordability. There is no time in Nigerian history that Nigerians have ever suffered unavailability and unaffordability. It's either we, in the past, that we suffered from unaffordability and is available, or we are suffering from unavailability even when we have the money. But there's no time we have suffered that we cannot afford something, and even that thing we cannot afford is not even available. Take the issue of fuel. Fuel has never costed 1,200 naira officially per liter. And in the olden days, this is the money, the highest you can get it in black market. Meaning, even if the government does not have fuel, if you have up to that amount, you'll be able to afford it in the black market. But unfortunately today, fuel is 1,000 and something, and yet it's not affordable, and yet it's not available. Let's take the issue of electricity. I don't have light now. That is why I am outside enjoying the light God gave me free of charge, enjoying the breeze. So I don't need to use air conditioner, because Tinubu's minister said we should even stop using our refrigerator as a way to manage the issue of lack of light. So electricity, again, the tariff is going up, yet it is not available. So there's no time in the Nigerian history that it has been this bad. And I pray that there will never be a time again in Nigerian history that it will be this bad. And the reason it got to this level is because we have people who are hypocrites that are in power. There is no nation that will have it green all the time, because life is about ups and downs. But you would have good leaders. When they are telling you to make sacrifice, you will see them making sacrifice with you. So if we had leaders, for instance, that are making sacrifice when they are telling us to make sacrifice, we won't have it this bad. Because what is making it unavailable and unaffordable is that we have leaders who are taking all the money, using it for themselves. And then that corruption and that incompetence, they want to make the people to pay the price for all of it. In other words, they are telling us they've removed subsidy. And they told us the reason they wanted to remove subsidy is to use the money for the people. Yet, they removed the subsidy and they are using the money for themselves and taxing the people the more. They are taxing us more in electricity, taxing us more even in VAT. Everything this government is bringing to National Assembly to tax the people more. So what happened is that they are transferring the burden of all their corruption and incompetence to the people while bearing none of it. That's why the president can buy private jet for himself when the people can no longer afford keke. And he can buy beast, as in the car he's using, almost 1 billion naira, when the people can no longer afford transport to go to work. The cost of his plane is about 150 billion naira. That's why he can budget 21 billion naira to complete the house of the VP. When the people are buying rice for 100,000 naira back. That's why he can give 20 billion naira for the house of his chief of staff. When the people cannot afford the cost of cement to even build their own boys' quarter. That is why he can give billions of naira to the wife, the first lady, an unelected office, while children are dying of hunger and hardship, and they are protesting. That is why he can tell you that his reforms are working, because he himself and his family are insulated from it. He himself and his workers and the politicians who have become his accomplices in the National Assembly and everywhere, they are insulated from it. So he can now have the guts to tell you it is working. When in a week you have more than 5 national grid collapses, yet his reform is working. When, as you can see, 50% of our hospitals are collapsing, yet his reforms are working. And it's a shame that I even saw somebody from National Assembly come on national television to begin to defend the government, when the National Assembly ought to be the check and balance that we have. So this government knows how to settle the people that he needs to make sure they don't defend the people. So what happened is that the people are now being the people bearing the burdens alone, while the government is busy enjoying. And that's why they can tell you with all the punishment that their reform is working. So this government, there has never been anyone like this, and there will not. When Buhari finished, I said no government will be as bad as Buhari's own. But I have seen now that it's like we were in Christmas during Buhari. So I can no longer now prophesy that there will be no government again like Tinubu. I can only pray that there will be no other government like this one. But this man is showing us renewed hopelessness. What my brothers in the north say, renewed shaking.
Tinubu's illegitimate administration will be the worst Nigeria will ever have. I remember in 2018 or 19, I can't remember the year specifically now, when I did similar prayer to say, may Buhari's government be the worst we ever have. And a lot of people came on attacking me, all sorts of, and I said to them, the worst will mean that it will be better on from now on. But somehow many people didn't get it. But I truly absolutely understand what you were just saying just now. Unavailability and unaffordability.
Well, you see, the list goes on.
Yeah.
The Dodam barracks that has not been in use for many years, located in Lagos, just a stone's throw from Tinubu's house. That would have been a fantastic place for him to go and stay. Yet they budgeted billions to repair it. A man who has the interest of his people at heart, this ought not to be his priorities. A man who knows that he borrows money to do all these things, this ought not to be his priorities. His priority ought to be productivity. Productivity that will be yielding employment, yielding products for us, making us net exporters of things, so that we can now generate our own foreign exchange to be able to sustain our naira. There is no magic in strong currency. Strong currency is predicated on strong economy, and strong economy presupposes an industrial productive base and a steady export. So this president ought to have specialized and prioritized productivity as a way to raise a very strong economy, so that we will be solving all these problems. That is prioritizing consumption. And because his family is insulated from the economic hardship, he does not care to give a contract worth 15 trillion naira. One contract without procedure, without people, coming to bid for it in a competitive manner with a company which he and his family has interest in. One contract, when you have other routes that ought to have been used at least till the time you are buoyant. 15 trillion naira is almost like half of the whole budget of Nigeria for one road. That is not a priority. That will lead in greater destruction of the property of people at a time when the economy is depressed. So this president and his government is not thinking for the people. They are thinking for themselves and their families and their cronies. That is why I am sorry. The hardship may not stop soon. Look at what's happening in NNPC. You can agree with me. Even the World Bank said all the operations are opaque. They are hidden in mystery, which all of us do not know. And the president happens to be the minister of that ministry. And so, how do you think we will survive? The NNPC say they are owing more than $6.something billion. Then you begin to ask yourself, what did they use the money to do? That is why we are in deep trouble. That a company removed fuel subsidy and the debt profile of the company is increasing. Now, what are they using the money for? That's why I said unaffordability and unavailability. And the only thing that can make us to be in such a situation is corruption and incompetence.
Corruption and incompetence, indeed, it is the reason why we're here. You made mention of the National Assembly, and I think most times people don't realize that National Assembly members are supposed to be our activists. They're the ones that are supposed to hold executive, accountable and so many other things. How can people hold the National Assembly members more accountable?
In all honesty, democracy can only fail when the legislature is more corrupt than the executive. Democracy is built not on the executive, but on the legislature. The symbol of democracy is the legislature. That is why, in actual fact, the legislature has more powers than the executive. It is the legislature that can only check the executive by our Nigerian constitution. When they say immunity, There is no executive in Nigeria that is enjoying absolute immunity. That is what people don't understand in law. The Constitution simply says the government cannot be tried, but they did not say the legislature cannot try them. You see, they simply shifted the burden of trying the executive to the legislature, because they said if you subject the executive, and I agree with it, to 200 million persons, especially in a litigious nation like Nigeria, that the executive will not be doing its job. But if you now elect your representatives, and your representatives will now represent you, if the executive does what is wrong, your representative now can try that executive, and if he's found wanting, they will remove him from office. The legislature has the power to make the law. The executive does not have the power to spend any 1 naira, except with the approval of the legislature. The legislature has the power to oversight the executive. In other words, when they make that law, they have the power to hold the executive accountable to the law they have made. There is no executive that can approve of any high-ranking judge or members of the INEC or his own ministers without the approval of the legislature. So you can see that it is the legislature that has brought us to this situation. If nature and government, if they were sure that executive will behave very well, they wouldn't have any need for the legislature at all. So the only reason the legislature came to be is because they have proved of it that every man that is invested with power is apt to carry his authority as far as he can go. And if there are no limits in the ordinary palace, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the whole idea of the legislature is to check and balance the executive. And once you don't do it, be rest assured that the executive is going to go haywire, and the nation will suffer for it. So what happened is that every executive, because the only way the legislature can be in the pocket of the executive is through corruption. That's the only way. So if you remove corruption now, you will see that the legislature will hold the executive to account. How can a country have a ministry? They have only one product, and that product has a ministry, and the legislature, right in front of them, everything that is done in that ministry is hidden in mystery. Nigerians do not know about it, and they cannot even bring those people to account. No transparency, no accountability. If Tinubu is the minister of petroleum, he cannot be a judge in his own cause. He cannot indict himself. I cannot go to court and sue him for criminal offense and sue his person. He's enjoying immunity from me. But he's not enjoying immunity from my representative. And I agree that that is the right thing to do. I voted for my representative to hold Tinubu accountable. And is my representative doing it? No. So what I am saying is that we should be very careful about the people we elect into the legislature. Look at what's happening in the houses of assembly. In Nigeria, I saw houses of assembly voting against itself, that they want to remain financial slaves to the governors. In my eyes, that day, I opened my mouth and said, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I was shouting, I can't believe it throughout the whole day. And why are they in the pocket of the governors? Corruption. Nothing else. Aisha, have you ever sat down to think, how can 469 people be defeated by only one man? It is not by accident that the legislature, there are 469, and the executive is only one person. So even if it is physical fight, is there any way he stands a chance? So you can see what corruption does.
Yeah, so that's where the Ghana must go. This thing comes into it. The person that has the money is actually the one that is now controlling everything. But
ironically, the executive does not have the money.
Oh yeah,
the executive shares the money according to the will of the legislature. I've told you that the reason is because when the executive is sharing the money, executive will leave them to eat as they want. So they will not close their eyes in turn to the executive eating as he wants. That's what is going on. The executive is simply sitting down to do the will of the legislature. That's democracy. But once there is corruption, they will be doing the will of the executive.
Like they always say, they say that if you're not Nigerian and someone explains Nigeria to you and you understood what they explained to you, that means they didn't explain very well. And so most like that's what happens. Like when you talk about the fact that where the state houses of assembly were actually voting against themselves to have financial autonomy, it's something that just beats the mind. But at the same time, also, I will say, is it not also hypocritical or false, right? When we sit down and say these things, but we somehow don't really push and put ourselves to run for office. So like when we say, oh, the people voted to the National Assembly, it's not part of what they have that we vote. Because most of us, we're running away from politics. Most of us don't want to, run for office. And I do understand the fact that people don't want to use their own money. And then the people also don't want to donate to people's campaign. They want people that will use their own money to come out. So at the end of the day, we're just sitting down here, actually not doing the work. But these people who are destroying the country, we must give it to them that they're actually doing a whole lot of work that we have refused to do.
Well, Aisha, you have just indicted yourself.
Yeah.
Because you refuse to even be a member of a political party.
I'm talking to myself too. That's why I said we. I know that.
At least I am a member of a political party.
Yes.
And you now know why I said, no, I also thought about that. Because I am not crazily interested in power. Now, but I said, how then can you change the system if you are not a member of a political party?
Yeah.
And I said, even when you're campaigning, in the election day, you will not even see the name or the picture of your candidate. It might just be that of the political party. That was why in 2023, even when I was reluctant being a member of a political party, I saw the futility in fighting without having a political party.
Yeah.
And then I encouraged every other person. You can see that I told you that part of the reason I disagreed with some of my leaders is if you have your own support group, and the law says you can only do politics under a political party, why don't you bring all your support and consolidate the political party? I mean, if they are your followers, for instance, when you are leaving to another party, you take your followers, unless they are not genuine followers of yours. But as long as you are in a party, you have to bring all your resources to consolidate that party. Because no matter how powerful that organization is, it cannot function as a political party unless it is registered as a political party. So I agree with you. And the first person I'm going to plead with is an Aisha to join a political party. And I'm present. You can imagine.
And I will tell you. I will tell you.
You have 10 Aisha in the National Assembly. You can imagine.
So Daniel Inadi totally agrees with you, and he said that Aisha, you just indicted yourself. I know, and I will tell you, see, for me, I take full responsibility for that. And I feel sometimes I sit myself down and I say, look, it's so hypocritical. You're talking about changing the people who are in office, destroying the country, but you don't want to be in a political party. You don't want to run for office. You don't want to do. Who are these people that are going to come on from everywhere and get it and get these things changed? And for me, I speak from a very selfish point of view. And I accept that I don't even need anybody to tell me how selfish it is. I'm somebody who, I love my freedom. I love my mouth. I love to travel the way I want to travel. Sometimes I'll leave the country, spend 2 months outside, come back, do what I want to do. But you are in an office, you can't do that. I love the word where I can use my mouth and say anything. There are certain things I would say in my capacity as an individual that as a public office holder, I would not be able to say it. And let me give you an example. For example, up to today, when they're playing the national anthem, I don't stand up. Worst case scenario, I walk out of the room. I'm not going to participate in that. But if I'm a public office holder, whether I'm an elected, I'm representing people, I can't do that. So I know from that point. But like you rightly said, we need to get to a place where people become involved in political parties. And if we want that change, every one of us Nigerians, we need to be in those political parties. But again, the political parties that you think they will do the thing, they will stain your white. And most people are running away from their whites being stained. And for me, I'm like, it should be an ideology. I don't want to enter a political party, then tomorrow I'm moving to another one, because how does one negotiate all of this?
All right. Now, you can look at the cup as half full or half empty. You can look at your situation as if I get into politics, they can stain my white, or I can wash their dirty cloth. You see, those people are able to win because you are not in politics. I am not saying everybody should be in power, but I'm advising everybody should be in politics, because democracy is the government of the people. So everybody should be in politics. If you're a member of a political party, that does not mean you will struggle for power. That does not mean you will. But what it means is that you have the right now, as a member of a political party, to decide what goes on in the political party. As you are like that in Aisha, you knew what you did in 2023. Yet some group of people, they had the guts to say, Aisha did this about the party. And you cannot even have the right to say you want to vote them out because you're not a member of that party. So what I am preaching is we must all determine to be in politics. That does not mean that all of us will be in power at the same time. But what it means is that, do you know, Aisha, that elections are settled 50% of the time in Nigeria in the primaries?
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Very good. So if you're not a member of a political party, you're waiting to vote in the general election. So what if all the parties now bring out for you very corrupt people? That year is gone for you. And you face another 4 years of incompetent and corrupt leaders. So my advice is that if we are serious, we must come together, pull our resources together. The good people have not gotten it right. And that is why the bad people are prevailing. In 1999, the good people are like, no, I don't want to get into politics. This democracy will not even last. Military will soon take over in the next 3 years, 3 years. Then the criminals that have nothing to lose. Because, I mean, they are criminals. If they strike once, if military like to come, let them come. They've taken that one and gone away. So you now saw the army of criminals coming in 1999. And they've been able to sustain that criminality till today. So what I'm saying is that we can change that narrative. There is hope for the future. I believe there is one, you cannot kill the hope in me, no matter the renewed hopelessness. If it is the hope I have that Tinubu has, Nigeria will not be like this. So the hopelessness they are giving me will never destroy the genuine hope in me. Because anybody that calls himself a man or woman of faith knows that you will always believe. You know, in the Bible, they say Abraham, hoping against hope, still hoped. And eventually he gave birth to Isaac, even with the deadness of the womb of the wife Sarah. So what I'm saying is that, yes, God is still alive. God can still do something. But we have to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. So when we do the right thing, and I still believe we must have to find a way to withstand these evil people, to resist them. You know, let me put it this way. Aisha, in law, if somebody calls somebody Ashawo, the person can go to court and say he has defamed her. And we'll go through the process of court to the Supreme Court that might take 15 years, 20 years. And we'll spend millions. But the court recognizes that when somebody calls you Ashawo, if you're a man, no, if you're a woman, and a man calls you Ashawo, the court recognizes that you can turn back and call him community prick. And when you go to court, they will say, please, you people did not invite us when you talk to each other. Go home, you have settled yourself. Now, you will now decide which one will be more deterring for the person. Is it to wait for the court that even eventually that he called you Ashawo, we may still go to court and win you? Because our history have shown that anything can happen in court. He may come from wealthy home. Or that he calls you Ashawo and you give him your own. That's what I'm saying. When the evil ones give us their own, we should give them their own. And I have never advocated for breaking rule of law. I challenge anybody to give me anything. But I have always advocated for resistance and protest. Because that's the only language the evil ones understand. When you are living at the mercy of your enemy, you're simply making your enemy merciless. If he were a good person, he wouldn't be doing those evil. So why think you can placate the evil man with good? If he knew the good, he wouldn't be evil. Now, if a thief comes to your house, you don't wait for the IG of police to send the policemen to come to your house. If you have a way to deal with the thief first, because he will take all the things you have and might even kill you and get away before it reaches even IG, or before the IG even sends the men to you. So the law gives you the right to defend yourself, for instance, and protect yourself. So while defending yourself, are you breaking the law? No. You are actually helping to enforce the law. I am saying that the citizens have the right by law to help the security agencies to enforce the law. If anybody is carrying ballot box in front of you, you have the right to break his head. I'm telling you, by law. The law says you should use reasonable force to stop anybody from committing crime. So nobody should mistake when I'm saying we should enforce the law with saying I'm supporting to break the law. No. If we do not enforce the law, what if the security agencies are complicit with the evil ones? So we as a people must rise up to enforce the law by resisting the evil ones and overcoming them. That's what I believe. And if you ask me, where did I learn some of these things from? Shehu Sani said, Tinubu is the father of protest. And I am saying that Aisha is the mother of protest. So if you say, where did I learn it from? I say from Tinubu and from Aisha.
As in bass goes, don't wait for anyone to be doing Mr. Nice person or gentleman. They don't do gentleman for motor park. They break motor.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Somebody annoyed me one day. And when I did my own, somebody came to me and said, that person, he thought you are a gentleman. I said, I'm a gentleman, but the guy thought I'm a quiet man. I said, I'm not a quiet man, but I'm a gentleman.
And so, especially, I always say to people, every one of us get bed for psychiatric hospital. Now, who are occupy, they send and go there. So some people think they have monopoly to behave anyhow, and they'll just come in and rush things in a way.
Now, Aisha, how can a man tell you even beforehand that power is not served a la carte? You fight for it. You grab it at all costs. You snatch it and you run away with it. And then you're waiting for him to do that so that you go to court. No. My advice is that we should prepare ourselves to ensure that he does not grab it, he does not snatch it, he does not run away with it. If a man who, for instance, did not win election will be so bold to go and steal it, then people who won election should be bolder to defend that victory. That's my own belief. You see, that's why I always talk about the legislature. In all honesty, we had enough laws that would have given us free and fair election, but the judiciary has destroyed those laws. I don't know where the judiciary got the law where they say INEC has a discretion whether to transmit result electronically or not. This was an invention that INEC brought into existence, the IREV. And then the first thing politicians said is that it's not part of the law. INEC fought to make it part of the law. And the court again now went and said, no, INEC is not compelled to do what INEC itself fought to become law. INEC wrote its own guidelines and regulations, which are part of our law, making it compulsory, using the word shall. The law making it compulsory, you cannot even collate with only manually collated results. You must compare those things with electronically transmitted results from the polling unit before you can declare results. Yet Mahmoud was declaring results without any electronically collated result. Mahmoud that boasted that on the day I will be talking, you will see TV on top of my head. Every result I'll be reading, you'll be seeing it on TV for you to see that it was transparent. Mahmoud, where is the TV? Where is the electronically transmitted result? Till today, polling unit by polling unit result was not available. All of us watched the American election. As it was coming in, one by one, the whole world was seeing it. With how tense the election was, nobody died. No one single human being was injured. Within 24 hours, the winner has emerged. And the whole world believed, as flawed as this winner is, the incumbent could not use the system to overrule the decision of the people. That's democracy. If the people chooses that an adulterer who is a convicted felon will govern them, so be it. If the law allows it, that is rule of law. That is democracy. But in Nigeria, till date, the election results, polling unit by polling unit, has not been tendered by INEC in any court. Yet court will tell you that it is the duty of the petitioner, to come to court to prove that he won the election in 176,000 polling units, which result INEC has even refused to give him to tender in court. So it is really a shame. And there is no way we can do free and fair election with such position adopted by the courts. So now the duty is for the legislature to now put guardrails to those laws that they have made to ensure that the judiciary does not give it a wrong interpretation. All those places the judiciary have used their own methods to rule what they don't know. The legislature should now use those things to amend the Electoral Act, to now make those things bulletproof. Because we are now in a situation where we can no longer guarantee the interpretative ability of the court. You know, the difference between law and the rule of law is that law is the noun, is simply the body of rules. The rule of law is the efficient implementation and enforcement of those rules. So judgment can pass the test of legality, but until it passes the test of legitimacy, it cannot be rule of law. So whenever judges are giving judgment not based on law, they may just create law, but they will never create rule of law. Rule of law emerges from the impersonal, rational authority of the judges, not by descending into the arena of conflict and being personally involved, favoring one side and giving irrational reasons. Because by the school of legal realism, the prophecy of what the courts will do becomes law. Good, but it will never be rule of law. Because rule of law means the efficient and effective implementation and enforcement of the law as it is. So the court is simply passing judgment that is passing the test of legality. But until they pass justice, they will never pass the test of legitimacy. And it is the test of legitimacy that guarantees the participation, yes, guarantees the rule of law, which ensures the popular participation of the people.
In this same particular video, Keneth Okonkwo addressed Peter Obi's night vigil comment. I'm going to put a link to that video here so you can watch it as well. But it does make a lot of sense. Nobody's perfect, guys. And even though Keneth Okonkwo is not perfect, I think that he does make sense, like many, if not most times. And same thing for Peter Obi as well. So overall, I mean, the reaction that I have is that this is on point. We need people like this in leadership, and he doesn't need to contest for office. Keneth Okonkwo does not need to run for office. But if he can be a chairman of a political party, I think that would be good. And if he wants to run for office, I think he's entitled to run for office. Anybody, any Nigerian, me, you, all of us, if you run for office, if you saying that the best thing for Nigeria be that. I just think that people should not judge or be quick to judge, because Keneth Okonkwo has a lot of ideas, and that's what was demonstrated in this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
BattaBox.